This mother thought she was pregnant with twins, but instead, she gave birth to 11 babies. Now, imagine for a moment how you'd feel about being pregnant, being relaxed, lying down, feeling the huge size of your belly that harbors life inside. And then suddenly, the babies you're carrying start kicking against the wall of your belly. It is something very tender that makes you feel very close to your unborn children. Suddenly, new taps begin to be felt, but these are very far from the place where she was kicking a moment ago. Can she really turn around so quickly? However, when you start to feel bumps all over your belly, it's not just two little legs. They sit in at least 8 or 16 places at the same time. Either you have an octopus inside you, or there are many more children than you thought. All we can say is that we hope you're in the mood to change about 100 diapers a day, because very soon the house will be full of life. This is the story of Nadia Sulaiman, an incredible mother of 11 children. She is a young and passionate woman who had always wanted to be a mother. Unfortunately, after a work accident, Nadia suffered an injury that affected the disc and left her unable to continue working. Following her accident, Nadia went through intense physical and emotional pain. However, despite her injury, what hurt her the most was that because of the accident, she had other complications that made getting pregnant hard. When she was only 21 years old, she started the process to undergo fertility treatment. Unfortunately, this wasn't something her husband approved. Unlike her, he was much more patient and assured her that they will have children at the right time. Unfortunately, the process was slower than Nadia would have liked, even though she was only 25 years old. Without needing to resort to artificial insemination, Nadia gave birth to her own first child. Barely a year later, she welcomed her daughter to the world. It was nothing short of a miracle. However, to Nadia, it was insufficient. Her desire to have more children slowly consumed her marriage. She knew that her marriage was at risk, but that didn't stop her from wanting to have more kids. One day, her husband decided to abandon his family and leave Nadia, as she has chosen to have children over being with him. If she really wanted to have many children that bad, then she was going to do it all on her own. Fortunately for her, shortly after she got divorced, Nadia had already managed to get some deposits of fertilized embryos in which she had used the semen of her ex-husband. Artificial insemination is a practice that raised all kinds of criticism across the globe. This subject in particular opened the debate on different social fronts. Marco Gutierrez, her ex-husband, denied any children that would come out by that process. All of the children who were born after their divorce were only her children. That is to say, even though his DNA was part of theirs, they weren't really his children as he hasn't approved of them. Many questioned whether he was obliged to pay child support for his children he was against their birth and didn't consent on their conceiving to begin with. A few years after their divorce, Nadia already had a total of 6 children. 2 were born naturally. 3 were born in vitro inseminations, of which 1 culminated in the birth of twins. But to Nadia, there was always only one question worth asking. Was that enough? Was she going to stop after having 6 healthy children? Well, as it turned out, it was far from being enough. Having 6 children is more than enough for most people, but Nadia wanted even more. She decided to call her doctor and ask about the reserve of fertilized embryos. To her greatest happiness, the professional Michael Cambra told the overly enthusiastic mom that she still had enough embryos to break all the records she wanted. Nadia's eyes sparkled with excitement. She was going to want them all, even though she knew that not all embryos last, and the insemination isn't sure to work every time. It is true that Cambra alone had inserted a total of 6 ovules, however, this only a great strike of luck. Her pregnancies were all very unbelievable, especially considering the result that he was about to present. In general, not all the inseminated embryos are able to survive the fertilization process. For instance, when looking for triplets, it is very common to insert a few extra embryos and eliminate the surprise once it's certain that there are some embryos growing healthy. The same logic was applied by Dr. Cambra, who finally learned that he had actually implanted a total of 12 fertilized embryos in Nadia's uterus. Only half managed to grow up safe and sound. 2 of them actually even managed to develop twins, which raises the total to 8 children in the same pregnancy. Even though raising 8 children in one womb was something that rarely went well, as it carried huge risk not only for the mother, but to the children themselves. Nadia refused to have any of her embryos removed. She loved them all so much and refused to abort any of her babies. The chances of a situation like this occurring naturally are practically non-existent, and previous experiences with similar cases didn't end well. This is why Dr. Cambro was insisting on removing one extra pair, as he would most probably later be judged for gross negligence and removed from his license in case anything happens to her or the babies she was carrying. Luckily for him, and for Nadia, she managed to both carry and give birth to 7 perfectly healthy babies with no complications whatsoever. One of the babies died during pregnancy, as it wasn't even a complete baby. Nadia's case is a marvelous evidence of the wonders and excellent work of in vitro fertilization can do. She is one of the most surprising in the world to this day. She is even studied by specialists who want to repeat and perfect these techniques. Another thing that's also to be envied is how this single mother managed to raise these 14 children alone without any partner to help. All we know is that she got a lot of financial burden lifted off her thanks to the media coverage generated. Nadia was able to star in many commercials and have a lot of work as an actress, which allowed her to pay for all the expenses of a large house. She does her best to make sure that all of her children are well fed, clothed, and treated. Nadia tried her best to avoid at all costs entering the adult film circuit, even though she was offered figures up to $1 million for starring in adult films, which is a more than appetizing offer, especially when she had so many mouths to feed and so many bills to pay. Despite all of her efforts, she finally accepted one offer in 2012. It turned out that mothers are a phenomenon that's liked by adults. The film will be awarded and highly recognized, which will definitely open the doors to the growing industry. Today, Nadia is recognized under pseudonyms. Despite having been criticized by the community, including her doctors, her ex-partner, her own father, and by so many television channels, she appears to be a proud mother who's done everything for her children. People were so envious and hating of her that they even called child services on her. There were many times when the children's service had to go to her home due to rumors that she was always alone and there was no way she could provide her children with the care needed. However, after she received a surprise visit from social services, they were unable to find any type of irregularity. They even said that she was actually doing a great job keeping her big home so tidy and her children in check. The government also allocated financial support for her and each of her 7 children, which was a great help for the children's development. As you can judge by yourself, social services were right to let her keep each of her children, since to this day, Octomom's children look healthy and strong. They attend school on time, clean and organized, always with lunch boxes packed. She did not only continue to work full-time and raise her children, but she was also able to finish a master's degree at the university, which allowed her to get a job as a family therapist. We can all agree that it is indeed a really moving and beautiful story that fills one with great emotion every time. A lot of questions remain to be answered. First, should the father pay child support for those children conceived without his consent? And how does Maria continue to see herself after 14 children? How many diapers will she have changed in her lifetime?